Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Riding of Yorkshire series. Together with the unparished city of Hull, it forms the county of the same name. There's 172 parishes here. Which one are we in today? Welcome back to the East Riding of Yorkshire again, folks. Still very foggy East Riding of Yorkshire, and to one of the most complicated parishes I think I've ever done in the county. There's no fewer than 6 settlements in this one. Okay, some of them are really small. It won't take me long to do, but I am going to visit each of them in turn. Where I'm standing right now is the main village in this parish, and this parish's name is Rowley. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. The parish of Rowley, or Rowley, is an interesting slab of land on the East Yorkshire Wolds which contains 6 settlements: Bentley, Risby, Rowley, RIplingham, High Hunsley and Little Weighton. All 6 of them have interesting pieces of history, and we'll be visiting them all in turn in this episode. The largest settlement of the 6 is Little Weighton, where most of the population live. Little Weighton was supposedly the site of the famous Battle of Brunanburh in the year 937. Rowley, the settlement for which this parish is named, is one of the smallest, yet has perhaps the most interesting past. Vastly depopulated compared to centuries ago, it consists of a church, a hotel, and a handful of houses. The tiny village was responsible for the founding of Rowley, Massachusetts, thanks to a former rector, the Reverend Ezekiel Rogers. He and 20 families emigrated to the American colonies, sailing from Hull in the merchant ship John of London. One of those 20 families was the Grants, and the English fashion model Jodie Kidd is a direct descendant of them. This was revealed in 2008 on the BBC TV show Who Do You Think You Are? The Hull and Barnsley Railway passed through this area too, and all of this is before we've even begun to consider the Risby estate, the Deer Park, and the historic beacon site at High Hunsley. Less talk, more walk. Let's go and check it all out. We begin in Bentley. Of the 6 settlements here, this is the furthest to the northeast, close to the A164. Access to the hamlet from the main road is by agricultural vehicle only. This building is perhaps the most interesting in Bentley. Now a private residence, this is the former church of St Peter. Otherwise, Bentley has a small pond, a farm or two, and a handful of houses. It's an out-of-the-way kind of place, and so too is its near neighbour, Risby. Risby is the site of a deserted village, and that of Risby Hall, which was lived in by the Elliker family between the 14th and the 18th centuries. The area has an open, partially wooded parkland, once one of the largest deer parks in Yorkshire. There are several fishing ponds here as well, which are the former ornamental lakes. Fishing has been a thing here since 1990. As for the hall, it no longer stands as it was destroyed by a fire in the 1780s. However, one building does still stand. So we've got an information board here that tells us about Risby Folly. Now, because it's foggy, I don't think I can just about see it. It's there, just above my finger. But because it's foggy you can't really see it from here. Well, this is what it looks like. This is the lake in front of us, and there is the folly. You can walk down to it, and if there are no anglers on this bank I will, because I would like to have a closer look at it. There are signs around that say don't walk past anglers, so if there aren't any on this stretch I think it's fair game. Let's go and have a look. Yes, we are in luck. There were no anglers on that stretch. There's a couple on the other side, but I think if I just remain quiet I think I should be okay. So here is the Risby Folly. Now I don't know whether you can actually get into this, but I'm not about to try and walk up that bank because it looks quite steep and there's plenty of brambles there as well. I don't want to injure myself. There you go. What a magnificent find. Didn't know this existed before I came here today. That's a bit of a bonus for this episode. It's great. It is a very peaceful part of the East Riding. It really is. I mean, I've been here for about 5 or 10 minutes and I haven't really heard anything apart from the sounds of the birds in the trees opposite, and of course the occasional sound of fishing lines being cast into the water. It's fantastic. Right, let's leave this peacefulness behind and head to Little Weighton, which is the largest settlement in this parish, and it's today's main walk. We start on Rowley Road outside the old schoolhouse. Little Weighton still has a school, and we'll see that towards the end of our route. In terms of businesses, the village has a few, mostly along this road. These include 8-ball camper conversions and Station Road Garage. Now to cross a bridge over the former Hull and Barnsley railway line. The village was served by Little Weighton railway station between 1885 and 1964. From the bridge, you can just about make out the station building, which still stands. It was the next station up the line from Willoughby and Kirkella. The road brings us onto Little Weighton's main street, Old Village Road. This is one of those villages that feels like it's miles away, but it's only a 10-minute drive from Beverley. It might not be accessible by rail anymore, but you can still take the bus. The number 180 service will get you to both Beverley and Cottingham. Okay, so this is a pretty typical East Yorkshire main village street, if you like. It's got all the things you would usually expect to find in one. It's got a shop, which Skidby, by the way, which is the next village over, doesn't have. And a lot of people after watching that Skidby episode were bemoaning the fact that it doesn't have one. But I suppose this is their nearest one. It's also a post office as well. And I can see a parish notice board there too, so you can guarantee what I'm about to put on that. Mark off Rowley, folks. We're down to 83. The village shop and post office has a notable postbox. This one's from the time of George V. It's not long ago that this village would have been considered linear. Historically, the village grew along this road, with houses and other buildings lining the route. Here's the village hall. This is just over 100 years old according to its website, even though it doesn't look it. It was built on an old chalk quarry. As you can see from this path, the hall stands on a level much higher than the road below, which used to cause access problems. Those were resolved in 2017. We continue along this path towards the end of the village, and coming into view is the village's one and only pub, the Black Horse. This has been a feature of Little Weighton for over 200 years. Its food menu features traditional British dishes made using ingredients from local gardens and allotments. And because this is typical of the East Riding, it has a mere. Here we are. There's a few swans and, well, maybe not swans. They're not swans. There's some ducks and some geese around, but there's no swans. I don't know why I thought there were swans. Anyway, here is the mere. Fairly small one compared to others we've seen in this part of the world. There we go. A nice little waterfall over there. Nice water feature. There we go. Okay, and now we're going to take a left turn up Walkington Road and complete a circuit of Little Weighton. On the corner of Walkington Road there's an old chapel which has recently been turned into a private dwelling. The link below shows what it used to look like. The chapel is marked on this historic map, which I'm showing you now. This shows how linear Little Weighton once was. It's very much not like this anymore. Development has taken place both to the north and the south of Old Village Road. Little Weighton now has approximately 400 houses and a population of just over 1,000. As this area is vastly residential, let's talk about some notable former residents. They include Trevor Boulder, who was bassist for David Bowie, and the former Hull City footballers Stan McEwen and Sam Ricketts. Off Potterdale Drive you'll find the car park for the village hall, quite handy because parking on Old Village Road is certainly not advised. When this area was built, aggregate was used to fill the back of the quarry the village hall sits in. That's why the car park is level with the roof of the hall. Okay, we're now heading for the playing fields, through this gate onto this path, and the playing fields, as you can see, are just there behind this little hedge. So let's wander around that and see what it's got. Through this gap. Oh, it's quite narrow. Oh, there's a zip line. No, I'm not trying it out. Oh wow, quite an extensive playground actually. All sorts of things. We've got a net swing, a roundabout, a couple of swings there. There's a big slide. I wonder what that thing is. Can you tell I'm a big kid? I love every time I come into a playground just investigating what things are. So let's see, what's this? Does this move? Oh, it spins. Oh, I see, it spins. Okay, let's give it a spin. Oh, that's really heavy. I don't have the muscles to spin that, not when I've got a camera in my hand. There is an adventure trail. No, I don't fancy it. Not today. Okay, now let's head across here to what I assume is a pavilion or a changing room or something. There's a goal net there. There's a football pitch at the back. It's got everything. This playing field certainly does serve the village well. The park also has a bowls club hidden away in one corner. I was right about the little building being a changing rooms too, as Little Weighton has a football club. Named AFC Little Weighton, the club play in the Hull Sunday Football League, and they also have a side in the Hull and District Veterans League, which is for players over the age of 36. The playing fields are often referred to as White Gap Road, and that's because access to them is from it. White Gap Road has the village's phone box, coloured white of course because we're close to Hull. This one's still got a working phone as well. Here's the village primary school, and note that this is named Little Weighton Rowley. It's a state school for both boys and girls aged from 3 to 11. And our last landmark is the manor house, which is now used as a care home. This can cater for up to 38 residents at full capacity. Okay, almost round. I'm on a street called the Butts, which will link us back to Station View down this little path here. It'll take us back to the road that we started on. And then when we reach the car, we'll be heading for Rowley itself. Now, Rowley is where the parish church is, and it's also where Rowley Manor is. Dating to the 17th century, Rowley Manor was originally the rectory to St Peter's Church. It's now a hotel. It was reputedly built by the Reverend Ezekiel Rogers, who was appointed rector of Rowley in 1621, and was then suspended in 1638 for his nonconformist beliefs. He and 20 families then emigrated to the American colonies, landing in Massachusetts. Rogers would found the town of Rowley there in 1639. There are strong links between the two settlements, and Rowley Manor often welcomes American tourists who come to visit the home of their ancestors. Fashion model Jodie Kidd is a direct ancestor of the Grant family who emigrated with Rogers. So let's have a closer look at the church. A church of some description has been on this site since 1150. Inside are lots of memorials to the Hildyard family of Flintham Hall, Nottinghamshire, who were long associated with Rowley. In the churchyard, there's also this simple war memorial. Let's go inside. Okay, so here we are inside the church then. So let's have a little look around. There's a nice chancel ceiling here. It's the first thing I've noticed. Those beams, timbers, quite intricate. There's a nice bit of stained glass at the back there. We'll see if there's any tablets on the walls in a moment. There's one here right next to me, which is in memory of Donald Charles Urquhart, who was the rector of Rowley from 1939 until 1972. Let's see what this one says. Can't really read that one. Levitt Edward Thornton. Okay, can't really read that one because it's too dark. Let's have a look through here. More stained glass for the stained glass fans out there, and I know you know who you are. Look at this. This is pretty. Let's head down here. Lots of little steps in this church. Be careful where you tread. What have we got on the wall here? Caroline Sarah Moore, a faithful church worker. And that's Henry Cumbry, Esquire, captain in the Royal South Lincolnshire Militia, whose body lieth near this place. 1794, that's dated. Here's the font at the back. It's very dark in this corner, so we've got a square font with this one. More stained glass. And I'm sure there's more history than what I've told you about with this church. And you can always buy one of these little leaflets from in here. They'll cost you the princely sum of £1 English pound. Next on our list is RIplingham. Blink and you'll miss it. RIplingham is a tiny hamlet to the west of Rowley, centred on a crossroads. This little drive through it is pretty much the extent of it. HMS RIplingham, a Royal Navy minesweeper, was named after the hamlet. Like Risby, RIplingham once had a medieval village too. And here we are in High Hunsley at the High Hunsley Beacon. This is the end of the route. There we are. It's high up on the wolds. Now I was going to film a radio tower out here as well, but because it's foggy you can't really see it. It's over there somewhere, but of course with the fog being as it is, it's a little bit invisible at the moment. You wouldn't know it was there. But yeah, that was going to be part of this video, but unfortunately the weather had other ideas. However, I do have a little backup plan, because I was also going to talk about the Sugarloaf Tunnel at some point in this episode as well. That was designed to be in today's special section, so I see no reason why I can't just combine the two things together. So here's today's special section, folks. Buried beneath the Permian limestone of the Wolds, there are a number of old railway tunnels which formed part of the Hull and Barnsley Railway. This is one of the entrances to Sugarloaf Tunnel, located between Everthorpe and Little Weighton. It measures some 132 yards long. Sugarloaf has two close neighbours which were similarly constructed. These were the mile-long Drewton Tunnel and Weedley Tunnel, both of which are inaccessible. Drewton Tunnel is believed to be home to a large colony of bats. It's ideal for them really, because this is an area of East Yorkshire lacking any natural caves. Until very recently, you could walk through Sugarloaf Tunnel, but now all three tunnels have been fenced off. By all accounts, Sugarloaf is in a very poor condition. And as for that tower, it's a 61-metre high radio transmitter, which is used by local radio stations, including BBC Radio Humberside. And that's it for the parish of Rowley, or Rowley. I still don't know which way to pronounce it, but I think with the fact that we're in the East Riding probably tells me it's more likely to be Rowley, especially when you consider places such as Gowdall and East Cowick, because some people did correct me on that one. It's not East Cowick, it's East Cowick apparently, but I'll still call it Cowick. I'll pronounce things how I like. No one's going to tell me otherwise. Rowley or Rowley, anyway, it's finished. And we are moving on to our next one here in the East Riding of Yorkshire. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.